Daniel, and this is the Engineering Success Podcast, episode 75. Hope you guys are doing okay. And for those in my audience that are from the hill country of Texas, my heart is with you. Many people know that that's kind of where I spent a lot of time in San Antonio and around exploring the areas around San Antonio, including Kerrville, where my wife and I's wedding rings actually were made, and some very important people in our lives who are okay but are from Kerrville and who are hurting. My heart is with you guys, and I'm thinking about you guys. On a less somber note, baby E just celebrated 2, so we're 2 years of being a parent, and that's been a crazy time, but a good time. Again, I'm recording this in the 4th of July weekend, and baby E's taking a nap right now, so if I get interrupted in the middle of this, that's because they woke up. But yeah, personally, life is good. Again, my heart's out with my friends in Texas, but over here we're doing all right for those of you that are keeping track. We just did 2 interview episodes, which were really fun, and I'm just going to sneak in a mailbag episode right here just after that, and then we have some more interviews that I'm going to line up, which is very exciting. So thanks to all the people that have been reaching out. I have more people interested in being on the podcast right now than I'm able to accommodate, which is really exciting. And if you too want to be on the podcast, send me a note at daniel@engringsuccess.com. I'd love to hear your story about your journey and career in engineering, and see if we might be a good fit to bring you on the podcast and tell that story. I'm not able to have that website without the support of my top tier supporters, John Ott and Leroy Jenkins. The two of them, they fund my website and my email domain, where you can email me at daniel@engringsuccess.com. On my website, you can sign up for a newsletter, which basically just I send out reminders each time I post a new episode, so you can get that. Subscribe to me on YouTube, Spotify, hit the bell on YouTube, set up notifications to be notified each time a new episode of the podcast comes out. And again, if you want to shout out at the beginning of every episode, $10 a month. I know that that's an obscene amount of money. I don't think of it as like a value thing. It's more of like a thank you thing. But I do appreciate that, or any other small amount that you'd be willing to contribute to the podcast. Every dollar is appreciated. So mailbag episode this week. We're going to start with LinkedIn lunatics right after this break. All right, and we are starting with LinkedIn lunatics this week in crazy things that we've seen on LinkedIn, or not so crazy things. I'll give you my take, but it's always fun to talk about some controversial stuff related to engineering careers. Here we go. $20 an hour to work as a civil engineer, PE license preferred. Get out of here. Okay, coming out the gate hot here. Bachelor's degree in civil engineering related field, professional engineering license preferred, strong knowledge of mechanical engineering principles and practices, proficiency in land surveying, experience with wastewater treatment systems and water distribution, familiarity with drafting software such as AutoCAD or MicroStation. They're looking for a full-fledged PE. This is in El Paso, Texas. This cannot be real. Or they don't know how to operate a LinkedIn job posting. I think that this is even low for like, taking the title graduate civil engineer. Okay, maybe they used the wrong job description, and maybe it's not a professional engineer and it's just a graduate engineer. Hey Siri, what's the salary equivalent of $20 an hour? $40,000 a year. So that's not market right now for even non-professional engineers, just regular straight out of college. That's definitely not market. What about $25 an hour? Hey Siri, what's $25 an hour turned into a salary? $52,000 a year. That's also not market for graduate engineers. I think it's much closer to the high 70s, low 80s, depending on reasonable cost of living. So yeah, this is even if they got the job description wrong and it is like a fresh college grad, That is low. Let's see what the comment section says here. El Paso is the worst paying city in America for degreed professionals. To post that kind of wage for an engineer with a PE license is downright shameless. Quote, nobody wants to work. Yeah, that's I'm gonna go 10 out of 10 on the lunatic scale with that one. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy to think that you could get an engineer for that. I I hope that I'm never in a situation where I am that desperate to work as an engineer that I would consider making less than a half of what the market wage is for what I do. Um, that is ridiculous. And Godspeed to that company that needs to pay an engineer so little to be able to turn a profit. That is Godspeed. Okay, next one is titled Wow. All right, let's click into this and change our view. Ben says, I know who needs to hear this, but I'm not going to name names. Okay. If I write you an email with a work offer and there are other people copied on the email and you do not reply all, I will revoke the offer. It's absolutely insane that in 2024, so many people under the age of 40 know how to use advanced software programs but can't be bothered to hit reply all on an email. It wastes time, forces unnecessary follow up, and clogs people's inboxes. It is mind boggling to me that I have to include notes that say, please remember to reply all in professional emails when I'm the one trying to hire you. I understand accommodating people, but it's not my job to teach you professional email etiquette. That's not classism, it's just facts. And frankly, unless you've never had a job that requires you to communicate with people professionally and or are under the age of 25, you have no excuse. Take the time to learn what it means to be a professional, be aware and considerate of the people who work tirelessly to ensure you have opportunities to work and do better. Who knows, you might just get more work and money as a result. Okay. Yeah, this was on r slash I think recruiting hell. Oh no, this is on LinkedIn Lunatics. And I don't think it's that crazy, to be honest. I know that other people in the comment section, I say, yeah, it's pretty standard reply all. If you can't people the right people in the loop at the offer level, will you do it as a member of the team? And then the next top comment is, this is so wrong. And then the next comment is understanding how email works is a requisite skill for a lot of jobs. Yeah, no, I don't think that this is crazy. If you're a professional and part of your job description is going to be the fact that you're going to communicate with people a lot over email, then I'm going to expect, I mean, your communication throughout the interview and offer process is all part of the interview. And if I need somebody that can communicate effectively via email on my team, and they repeatedly show me again and again throughout the process of me trying to hire them that they're not capable of effectively communicating via email, when that's a big part of their job, that's a red flag, and it may lead me to not want them on my team. Just like, for example, if I schedule a job interview with somebody and then somebody no call, no shows, and even after me, and it takes multiple follow-ups from me to them to check in with them and see, hey, hope you're okay. And then I found out they were okay. They just missed and they forgot to come to the interview and they were embarrassed about it. Like that, just like that's also another reason why I may not want to hire somebody, because that, if they're not organized and they're not able to show up to an interview and they didn't have some extenuating circumstances causing that, then that says, okay, maybe this person isn't reliable enough to show up to work. Same like, again, the whole interview process is part of the process. So no, I don't think that this is crazy. Now, would I have worded it exactly the same way as Ben? Maybe not. Maybe so. I don't think it's that crazy of a post, to be honest. I think that it's pretty reasonable. And again, keep now. One thing that I will grant is that for me personally, I use Gmail for my personal email, but I hardly ever send emails via Gmail. I pretty much almost exclusively use Outlook. And I know that I can set up my email in Outlook, and it's difficult. I don't really send enough emails to bother to set it up. But I will say that sometimes I have formatting issues whenever I occasionally email people using my personal Gmail or my email account that's associated with my podcast, because I'm just not used to using them, and I make mistakes. But as a recruiter, if you I'd say keep that in mind, is that maybe somebody is really not used to checking their personal email. Though, I mean, if they're on a job hunt, like an actual avid job hunt, they probably should be. And also, Ben puts a good point in saying that, frankly, unless you've never had a job that requires you to communicate with people professionally and or are under the age of 25, you have no excuse. As a recruiter, if you're listening to this, I don't know if I have any recruiters in my audience, but yeah, that's a good thing to keep in mind, especially if you're recruiting entry-level people. It's good to keep in mind that maybe they don't know email etiquette and they haven't had the opportunity to learn it. Now, if you're listening to this and you're like, what is he talking about? What do you mean email etiquette? It might be worth educating yourself on basic email etiquette. Learn what reply is, learn what carbon copying is and blind carbon copying is. That's one of the things that I learned in my first internship. It's a valuable skill, and one of the things that I try to impart on to the interns that I work with whenever I get to have the opportunity to cross paths with interns, because a lot of the college students, they don't know email etiquette. I learned not too long into my first internship the difference between a carbon copy and a reply. I never had really understood that until somebody explained it to me after they didn't reply to one of my emails because they weren't in the reply to line and I didn't address them in the email. Just learning email etiquette is important, and I think that Ben is right to say that if he's expecting a professional that's capable of communicating well over email, and they show that they're not, then that can be a red flag that comes up in the interview process. All right. Well, that was this week in LinkedIn Lunatics. We had one crazy one and not so crazy one in my views. But if you disagree, make sure to let me know down in the comments. Send me an email. Let me know how I'm so wrong and how I'm so evil for thinking that people should know email etiquette. Just let me know. Let me know down in the comments or send me a nasty email. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the communication. I like it all. All right. The next segment of these mailbag episodes is related to engineering pursuits in college. So college questions about pursuing college and engineering. And the first question is titled, A Question for Engineers. I'm in the 11th grade and I want to become an engineer, but I don't want to do Physics 12 because I struggled this year. Is there any type of degree or something similar to engineering that I can do that skips out on physics? If I can't skip out on it, I also want to know what the best type of engineering is to go into regardless of the work. I think I'm not exaggerating when I say that engineering is applied physics. Like, is engineering applied physics? And Gemini says, yes, engineering can be considered applied physics. Engineering uses the principles and theories of physics to design, build, and maintain practical systems and technologies, while physics explores the fundamental laws of nature. Engineering focuses on applying that knowledge to solve real-world problems and create useful devices and systems. I couldn't have summarized it better myself. Actually, I could have. Thank you, Google Gemini. Not sponsored, but Google, consider sponsoring me. That would be nice. But yeah, so engineering is applied physics. That being said, so I would say that in general, no. Do you need to be good at physics for industrial engineering? Let's see. All right. So the answer to that is no. Yeah, so I would say that if you want to do engineering, I mean, you're probably going to get roasted in the comments. In fact, physics is the foundation of engineering. Yeah, if you can't master physics, you can't do engineering. Yeah, that's probably true. But technically, if you wanted to do engineering, maybe become a software engineer. Software engineers aren't really... okay, I'm going to get some flack for this. I don't necessarily think that all software engineers are necessarily engineers in the traditional sense of engineering and the way that I think of it. Roast me if you disagree. But I think that industrial engineering, it's like, process improvement, manufacturing, systems. I don't equipment design, layouts, and stuff like that. Like planning, that kind of stuff, or working in a plant. You don't necessarily need to be good at physics. That being said, I mean, let's actually kind of go back at the root of the question. You said, I don't want to do physics 12 because I struggled this year. That is the thing that actually concerns me more about you and your desire to pursue engineering, because engineering is like, I'd say a good bit of engineering is, being smart and understanding the material, and a good part of engineering is just like the perseverance and like surviving an engineering program. That is a good bit of the engineering major. It's just something's hard and you're gonna solve the problems and you're gonna get through it. That's what the spirit of being an engineer is. So I'd actually be more worried about the fact that you don't want to do physics than the fact that whether or not physics is really super necessary for you to pursue engineering. I think that if you want to do any traditional engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, chemical engineering, civil engineering, yeah, you're going to need physics. I mean, it's the core of it. If you want to do industrial engineering or become like a software engineer, no. But yeah, if you don't like physics, then maybe the core design engineering majors are not for you. And especially if you're the type of person that runs away from things because they're hard, then maybe engineering might not be the major for you. I'm not going to name any other alternative majors you could pursue because I don't want to. I've said enough things that will get me canceled in this one episode. I don't need to add any more. But yeah, here we go. This is kind of somebody. This person summarized pretty well. Honestly, taking the attitude of not wanting to do physics 12 because of previously struggling with concepts will completely set you up to fail in any engineering or any engineering adjacent degree. Perhaps one of the most important things is to be willing to work through material that is difficult. Also, there's no such thing as the best type of engineering. It depends completely on your interests, and basically all of them require understanding of some more advanced physics, except for maybe software engineering. But you would still need them to make it through your first year Common Core, which includes physics and requires high school physics 12 to even get in. Yeah. So anyways, I don't think that engineering is necessarily for you, but that's okay. And it's good to ask these questions to pursue a major and to explore and figure out what is for you. And I wish you the best with your search and what you want to do in your career. All right. Next question is, okay. If my PhD isn't funded, is that bad? I haven't done my PhD, by the way. I'm still in my first bachelor's. Okay. But I was just wondering. Well, first of all, you don't need 2 bachelors in engineering. Don't get a second one. And yes, if your PhD isn't funded, that is bad. There are some degrees out there that where it's normal for people getting a doctorate to not have funding. But when it comes to engineering PhDs, there's not enough engineers pursuing PhDs to make it so competitive, and to the point where the engineers would often find themselves not getting fully funded PhDs. I'd say that it's pretty much the norm, if not the expectation, that an engineering PhD is fully funded. And if you're getting a PhD and you're paying for it, that's on top of the opportunity cost of your lost wages during that time. So it's for an engineering PhD, you should definitely be at a minimum fully funded, and on top of that, honestly, you should probably be expecting a stipend as well. I think that's the market right now for engineering PhDs, just from talking to my friends that are pursuing engineering PhDs. Comments. Yes, it should be fully funded. No, please avoid at all costs a program that isn't funded. A program that won't fund you is one that's not worth your time. If you're accepted into a PhD program but it isn't funded, then you weren't really accepted. The one exception would be is if you're working for a company that will fund your PhD, then your company pays for it instead of your professor using their funding. Either way, you shouldn't be paying for it. And I said, yes, then you're not only losing out on the income you'd be making by working in the industry and the years of experience, but you're also further digging a hole financially in the opposite direction. Yeah, it's a standard that your PhD is funded in engineering. All right, next question. This is the last question in the engineering career question, engineering college questions. A lot of them this week. Is it normal to hate all your classes? I'm a second year engineering student after switching from being a bachelor's of science in my first year. I'm in a mix of first and second year courses, and I'm in environmental engineering, but haven't taken any discipline specific courses. I was in class recently and I realized that I pretty much hate all the classes and I find them boring. I have no passion for anything we're learning, despite me doing quite well on most of my classes. Is it normal? Does it get better? I'd say it isn't normal to hate all of your classes. I think that, though, I would be a little bit worried if you weren't finding like if you weren't getting at least interested each time you kind of learned a little bit more about like, oh, that's how that works, and oh, that's how we can use engineering and math and physics to explain how that works. And if you're not getting a little bit that excitement at some soon about what you're doing, then maybe that you'll find that the career is also not exciting for you. That being said, I did I love my coursework in engineering? Not really. I just wanted to get in and get out. And now looking back on it, I miss a lot of aspects of being an engineering student. But that being said, I eventually I got into maybe my second year, when I was taking a design course, like a practical lab for engineering design. I enjoyed those. I enjoyed a lot of my electives. I found them fun. They were difficult and challenging and tough, but I never loved all my. I never really there's never a class that I took and I was like, oh my goodness, I love this. I could just take this class for the rest of my life. There was nothing like that for me. Though I wouldn't say that I hated all my classes. So, but yeah, I'd say it's normal. It's okay that you're not just like super jazzed up about being an overwhelmed student. Though if you're not getting a little bit interested and excited by the occasional concept here and there that you're applying, and understanding how, oh, that's how that works, and that's how that works, and oh my goodness, I solved that problem, that was exciting. If you don't get those little moments here and there, then it might be time to start reevaluating whether or not the major and the career field is for you. Let's see what everybody else said. It depends. I hate my classes while I'm taking them, but thoroughly enjoy them looking back on it, reviewing old notes, or reviewing course content. Having no passion may be indicative of being in the wrong program. Yeah, I don't enjoy reviewing my old notes, but okay. I feel the same with chemical engineering. I'm going to drop out and switch to physics. Okay, interesting. Hi, environmental engineer here. I hated a lot of my course classes and found them very difficult, but the discipline-specific classes were so fun and made the degree so worth it for me. It's hard to have a passion for those core classes, but it's a lot easier once you are learning things that very directly apply to the real world. I would say this is very normal. For me, it got exponentially better to stick with it until at least you get to some of your environmental courses. Yeah, and that's what I'd say to OP as well. If after that you have absolutely zero interest in anything at all, then maybe it's not for you. So yeah, I would say that as you get further into the major and you're taking more major specific courses, then you should be getting more excited. I found myself at least excited to take certain classes, and then I was excited whenever I finished them. But yeah, you don't necessarily have to be jazzed up about the subject material and jazzed up about doing homework and excited about prepping for exams to be an engineer, but you should have those exciting moments along the way. All right, well, that was this week in engineering major questions and pursuing the engineering major in college. We'll take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll talk about engineering internships and engineering careers. All right, and we are back with our engineering career questions. Let's start with the ones about internships. This one's titled PhD versus undergrad intern, and they deleted it, but I still have the question, so I will read it out. As a current undergrad intern, I recently attended a presentation by a PhD student who came to our company whose technical knowledge was far beyond mine. It made me wonder how technically proficient companies expect interns to be. I'm concerned I might be letting my managers down because my skills aren't yet at that level. Industry, oil and gas. Okay, first of all, you're not letting your managers down because your skills are not at that level because you're an undergrad and they're a PhD student. Um, how proficient technically do I expect you to be whenever you first come? Not at all. I do expect you to have taken basic engineering coursework and to be willing and ready to apply engineering concepts to solve problems. But I don't expect you to know much, not much at all. And you recently attended a presentation by a PhD student who was much more knowledgeable than you. Yeah, duh. I mean, they're graduated from college. They're pursuing a PhD, which means they're pursuing expertise in a field. So the fact that they're more knowledgeable than you, as they are somebody that is on the route to being an expert in a field of knowledge, does not surprise me at all. They likely were presenting on the topic was related to what they're going to become an expert in. So it makes a lot of sense that they'll have a lot more knowledge than you. And I know it can be hard. A lot of engineers have been high achievers and been considered smart and knowledgeable for their whole lives. And when you run up against somebody that is more knowledgeable on a topic than you, it can be difficult or shocking. But that's just that's life, and you're gonna run into it a lot. And comparison is the thief of joy. I run into people that know a lot more than me and about a lot of things all the time, even as not an intern. So, yeah, that's just a part of being an engineer. All right. And part of life and timing and how life works out. All right. Next question is taking off a few days during the internship. Hey, y'all. I'm going to be spending my summer starting next week working as an intern for a relatively large radio company. I'm really excited for my role, and I think the work will be super interesting. I plan on putting 110% effort into my work, but I'm a little worried about not being the perfect employee, as I'm looking for a return offer after this internship. I wanted to go fly out and visit my boyfriend in another state a few times throughout the summer for the weekend. Do y'all think it would be unacceptable for an intern to take maybe 3 Fridays off spaced out over 12 weeks, probably once a month, for the purpose of travel? I'm even a little worried to ask my boss for fear of being seen as bad, lazy, or anything like that. Thanks so much. No, I don't think it's unacceptable. Especially, I mean, you just had 4th of July weekend, so that was a weekend that you could have gone, and then so it's really just 2 extra weekends other than that in a 12-week period. I don't think that's crazy. I think that you kind of got to read the situation a little bit better. Like, if during the interview process they were like, "Do not schedule any time off during this internship. You only have 12 weeks," then that may be an indication that the company doesn't want you to take time off, and maybe an indication that you may not show well for taking time off. Some companies, just considerations, some companies, their interns, they don't pay them overtime and they pay them hourly, so you wouldn't get your full pay if you didn't work 40 hours. So maybe couch this as like, hey, if your internship doesn't come with paid time off, which crazy, my brother is doing an internship right now, and he actually has 5 days of paid time off. That for a summer internship, which kind of blew my mind, but that's amazing. What a whole week of his 13-week internship he has paid time off for, which is crazy. But if your company doesn't have paid time off for interns, you can also offer to work. If it's a 980 schedule, then you can offer to work longer schedules. 980 is like over a 2-week period, you need to work 80 hours. So 2 40-hour work weeks. You can offer to work extra the weeks leading in the 2 weeks leading up to you going out of town. So that way you get your full hours. Or if you're a weekly payroll company, then you can offer to work 10 hours Monday through Thursday. That's something that that I did in one of my internships. So yeah, it just kind of depends on the circumstances. I wouldn't say it's unacceptable for you to ask. So just you did a good job. You went to Reddit and you went to other engineering professionals and asked them what they thought, and now you can kind of handle the situation yourself. And I hope it worked out well. I think it would be fine. Many where I work take a week off or more for summer vacation with their family. If an intern is so necessary that they can't take time off, that's a bad company. Yeah. Are there any other people that maybe were once interns that they've connected you with, or is there like a internship program coordinator that isn't necessarily your manager that you could reach out to with this question? Those would be good people to ask this question to. And I know that I'm not answering this like midway through the summer, but hey, internship advice is applicable at all times. So that's how, if you're in an internship and you have the same question, that's how I would handle this. Okay. Well, that was internship questions. Let's do engineering career questions. First one is first 2 days on the job and I want to quit. Hello, I'm a recent graduate with my degree in mechanical engineering. This is my first job out of college, and I started a construction job as a field engineer. The pay is fabulous, but the hours are horrendous, and I dislike my boss. Okay, well, if the pay is fabulous and you're an entry level person, then you're probably getting fabulous pay because the hours are horrendous. The pay is probably commensurate with the hours. Okay, especially if you said the pay is fabulous and you like it. All right, and you just like your boss. Okay, let's hear about this boss. Okay, well, today he took me and another new hire out for lunch. It was a nice Amish-owned restaurant that serves lunch and canned goods. My boss would frequently comment about how the Amish women were uncleanly and gross, and he said he dislikes being served food by a woman with hairy legs. Okay, I don't like your boss either. For reference, I've worked in the oil fields and I'm used to men making crass comments or jokes in poor taste, but I was hoping that this would be a job that would be a little bit friendlier to me as a woman because before I interviewed, I got a call from the HR of this company telling me it's a good company to work at as a woman. Well, maybe it's good in the office where the HR person works, but maybe less good out in the field. I knew this would be something I should go to HR about, but I kind of just want to quit and not look back. I'm living at home with my parents right now, and I don't really have any huge financial obligations. I'm looking for any wise words or clear path forward. All right, well, I'll give you some wise words and a clear path forward. First one, don't quit your job without a job lined up. It's a weird job market for entry level people, and in general, it's just much easier to find another job with a current job. It's easier to find a new job when you already have a job. That's maybe it's a generic trope that people say, but I've observed it to be true. Would you go to HR about it? I mean, you could just say, hey, can you document this so that way, but without making a big complaint about it. Some HR companies policies have a, hey, you don't have to make a report, but just you can document something. And if you wanted to do that, you could do that. I'm not in your situation, but I probably wouldn't go the full HR investigation with it because it just honestly would be more of a headache than this person is worth to me, this boss of yours. If I were you, I'd just kind of keep my head down and search for a new job with a better culture and take that one once you got it. I know the hours are tough and it's hard for you to interview for a job whenever you are working rough hours. But I mean, you can take time off. If you're going to leave the company anyways, you can go ahead and burn through some of that PTO that you have to go do the interviews at your new job. And I know that you live with your parents and you have low expenses, but this is a great financial opportunity for you to set yourself up, and you're going to be for success in the future for any other goals you may have in the future. Like if you have loans, paying off your loans, if you want to own a house one day, sooner retirement, everything that you could do now early on for yourself from a financial perspective will benefit you in the long run. And if you're not really thinking critically about that and you're only worried about your expenses and not kind of thinking about what this income can do for you in the future, I highly encourage you to spend some time brushing up on your personal finances and setting some long, kind of high level goals for yourself from a personal finance standpoint, because not having a job is no bueno. Even if you think you can afford to swing it, it's not about affording to swing it. It's about staying on track to meet your long-term financial goals. Let's read the comments. HR telling you it's a good company for women should have been the first red flag. Seems like the kind of thing that a company that has a horrible culture towards women would say. Okay. It's giving we're a family vibes, which is the opposite of anything positive. And then, everybody else is saying don't quit without another job lined up. This is great advice. Pre-decide how you want to react to your boss being disgusting and practice it. He's definitely not going to change, but maybe you and the other new hire can grow a different work culture. And then somebody gives great advice. I prefer the response, wow, I'm surprised you would say that out loud. Or ask, why is it uncleanly for women to have leg hair but not men? Also, you could turn it around and say, I also can't stand living in a house built by men with hairy legs, but what can you do? Or what a weird thing to have an opinion about. Man, there's a bunch of great women engineers that have great responses, and men that also are allies for women in engineering. These are great responses that you can practice too, because we don't need misogynistic and retroactive, antiquated views on women in our field. We don't need it. That's why it's so important that organizations like SWE exist and that we promote more women in engineering, because again, the more diverse backgrounds we are, the more diverse abilities we can bring into solving problems. It's a good thing to have, and we need to encourage inclusion of others in our workspaces. All right. Yeah. So again, don't quit. Go ahead and start looking for another job, and then it's an okay thing to reference whenever you're like, why are you leaving your current job? Oh, my current boss is a misogynist, and apparently this is what good work culture looks like for this company, and I'd like to find a company with better work culture. Oh man, that's just exhausting. All right, next question. Wearing engagement ring to work. I'm starting a new job on Monday, and it's in chemical manufacturing. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I was wondering if wearing my engagement ring would lead to judgment / not being taken seriously. I only say this because I've heard a lot about married women having a bias against them because they're seen as unable to commit fully to work. Also, I'm not sure just yet as to how much hands-on work there will be, and if wearing it would risk damage or loss. Has anyone had experience with this? I'm a chemical engineer for reference. Yeah, so as long as there's not any physical risk to the ring, I would just wear it. I've never really paid attention to whether or not one of my colleagues has a ring of any kind or not. The first time I do ask my coworkers about their lives, and I'm interested in learning about my coworkers' lives. So eventually, I do kind of learn whether or not they're married or not, and it really doesn't affect my opinion of them and their proficiency. If I find out that one of my coworkers is a parent, I do understand. I then become able to sympathize with them for some things that I've also gone through as a fellow parent. If one of my coworkers is planning a wedding, I get excited for them, and I talk to them about what it was like working and planning for my wedding, and never in that entire time am I ever thinking negatively about the competency of my coworkers because of the fact that they have some certain type of life circumstance going on. Again, I'm interested in learning about my coworkers' lives. I spend more time with these people than any person in my life. I spend almost as much time with my coworkers on a weekly basis as I spend with my family. In some cases, more time, maybe. I don't know. I'm not going to do the math on that. But you spend a lot of time with these people. You spend good portion of your life with them. You should know about their lives. It's okay. I'm not going to look negatively on anybody for having an engagement ring. That being said, if you're worried about it getting hurt in the field, that's something to worry about, something to care about. They make these cool necklaces I've seen online for helping store rings around your neck. There's some really cool necklaces that are, in my opinion, very fashionable. That I'm not sponsored by, but you can get a bunch of advice from others on how to store your ring if you want to wear it. I'd just suggest throwing it on as a necklace, as long as you're not in a risk of it getting caught on anything. If that's not a hazard in your work environment. And if you want to wear like a rubber ring, you can. But no judgment for wearing an engagement ring to work. Just be yourself. You bring you're a person, so bring your personness to work. This whole idea of like a wall between your personal life and your work life and like personalities is I don't get it. I bring my whole personality everywhere I'm at, and it's served me well in my career. But if you've interacted with me and you think differently, then let me know. But people enjoy it. I'm told that people like me. All right. Yeah. By the way, shout out Canada Dry Ginger Ale. I was leaving church today, and this kid had set up a little lemonade stand, but I was on my bike, so I couldn't take the lemonade. So we had seltzer water, not alcoholic seltzer water, because why would a child be selling that? And then Canada Dry Ginger Ale. And I asked for the seltzer water, and then he was like, "Why do you want seltzer water? You want ginger ale?" And I was like, "I guess I want ginger." I've only drank ginger ale when I'm sick, but yeah, he sold me on it. So good job, buddy. You sold me on ginger ale. I don't know why I decided whenever I was parched to get something that would make me burp to drink while I'm recording the podcast. But anyways, all right. Next one, designer versus engineer. Anyone wish they were just a drafter sometime? I miss the time when I was drafting and work was straightforward and mindless. Now I have a lot more to do and spend a good time telling drafters how things should be shown. Is it just laziness or am I in the wrong career position? I like the idea of logging out and enjoying my personal life, remote work, and minimal coordination, writing, and meetings. Walking around as a mailman seems fun to me. I'm not sure how many drafters or designers there are in this subreddit about civil engineering, but curious about your hours, pay, and input. Man, I mean, I think in general with the career, as you get more experience and you get more pay, then the mental load of the work, right, kind of carries with you a little bit more, and you become less of a point and shoot and doer, and more of a thoughtfully solving problems and directing solutions with institutional knowledge type of person. Um, I I I don't think that drafters and designers necessarily have any better hours than engineers, especially if they're not salaried. There's a lot of things that come with that as a drafter and designer. I've known plenty of leaders in drafter and designer roles that work the same type of hours and schedule and rigor of work life as the engineers, and they sometimes the only difference is that they're not an engineer. They can't do some of the engineering things, and conversely they're paid less for it. But no, I've never wished I was a drafter. I actually have never wished I was a design engineer. But I think that's a well documented fact for the people that listen to this podcast. But no, I've never wished I was a drafter instead of an engineer. Or, I mean, yes, sometimes I'm like, oh man, I wish I could just be told exactly what to do, when I needed to do it by, and then just do things that people tell me to do. But man, but whenever I was in that phase of life, I was like, I can't wait until I'm the one telling other people what to do. So I think that the grass is always greener. And yeah, I think the same thing like when you look back in college, you're like, when you're in college, you're like, I hate like all these classes and like all this tests and stuff. And now I'm like, oh, I miss whenever I was in college, and through the great hard work of my parents and great fortune on my part, I didn't have to worry about anything other than school and hanging out with my friends. The grass is always greener. I couldn't wait to be a working professional, and now I miss being so close to all my friends. So no, I don't wish I was just a drafter. Let's see what the other engineers have to say. Larger companies let you take on more technically focused roles as a mid-late career engineer instead of becoming a PM post-PE. I had one such opportunity, but I decided to slowly pivot towards project management. I'm more of a half and half designer PM right now, but I'm starting to get too expensive to be used on design and drafting for smaller projects. I used to want to stay hands-on and only design, not manage. Then I got into management. Then I just wanted to do design again. Yeah, I would say that it's just a symptom of being more valuable. That knowledge of coordination and all that kind of stuff. So, sounds like you just need to buckle down and get ready to retire. But yeah, I think that that's a shared experience, is that you miss parts of your old life. But hey, we engineers, we get paid the big bucks for the coordination and the mental energy that comes along with that for a reason, and it's the work we do. All right, next one is titled, you know what, let's do one last one. All right, it's titled, do civil engineering contracts and billing rates not allow for personalization of salaries? I'll try to be more clear than the title. From what I've seen at firms, engineers in a similar role at a firm are all generally paid about the same. There's not much room for personalization of a salary. For example, one project manager may be taking on a lot of responsibility and having a great impact on their project, while another project manager may be struggling to stay afloat. If these two project managers have the same years of experience, certifications, etc., they'd be getting paid the same despite one having a larger impact. I'm thinking, is this because there's no justification for the client to pay a higher billing rate when on paper the company will sell these two engineers as the same? And if so, the company will then say this: since the billing rates are the same, the salary for the two engineers must be the same too. Am I thinking about this wrong, or is this not widespread and only exists at firms that you've worked at? Thanks. I think it is widespread in the sense that companies will use that as a justification to suppress salaries all the time. They will say, "Oh, well, based on years of experience and your quality of the years of experience and your and your certifications, we can only bill you out at this, so it's not profitable for us. So this is what we have to pay you, and so on and so forth." And then as the employee, then your counter to that is to leave. That's or threaten to leave. That's kind of what you have as your leverage on the back end. So it's like a back and forth of like you battling with compensation at your company for ability to earn a living at a certain rate. That being said, if a company needs a skill and a competency and you can deliver it, at some point it becomes about more than just your years of experience. And that's what happened to me whenever I left my old job and I went to my new job. I got hired because I did meet some basic minimum years of experience and certification degree requirements, but really for the value that I would bring to the company. And that's a lot more than just what my billing profitability rate is on any given project. It's also based on my ability to help a project become profitable. Do engineering billing rates not allow for personalization of salaries? I mean, if you are a production engineer, that your product is the same regardless of who you are, and maybe then maybe it's a little bit harder. But then if you're able to add value and that translates directly to profitability, and then you get disconnected a little bit from that, is my view. And I've always tried my best in my career to follow the money, in the sense that the closer that you are to the money and to helping the company become profitable, the more you are able to demonstrate your value and make more money. That's just the philosophy that I've taken in my personal pursuit of my career and compensation throughout my career. And it's something that, if that's really important to you, that I'd encourage you to do as well. That being said, that's just my experience. So let's go to the comments in this one to see what everybody else has to say. I found that salaries will vary widely between people with the same billing rate. They shouldn't, but they do. I don't know if I agree with that. Every company I've worked at has had salary ranges for any given title. I agree with that. For instance, PM1 may range from 105 to 160. This allows the company to pay different salaries for personnel in the same category, which can reward higher performers. And that's something that I've seen as well. However, that assumes each employee is willing to go to bat for themselves and get the most money possible. If there's one thing that I've learned in 14 years as a professional, it's that companies very rarely, if ever, are willingly pay market value for an employee without being prompted to do so. I am pro merit-based salaries, but then again, I believe every person has a responsibility to themselves to make sure that their pay matches the value that they're providing the company. Yeah, exactly. Salaries and bill rates do not have to match. Salary should reflect the value the person brings to the firm, like I said, or what it takes to retain that person, kind of like what I said. Bill rates are business driven and what the firm can justify charging for the person. They should be close, but a lot of factors can drive them apart one way or the other. Yeah. So anywho, and like, for example, like you may have like a senior level person at your company and you're not making the same kind of profit on that person because they're more expensive, but their value and their knowledge and their experience is what got you the job in the first place. And then you may make a little bit more profit on some of your junior employees that are working on a project, doing the bulk of the work. There's different ways to philosophies and business decisions and ways that companies kind of go about doing this. But when I say that salaries have to one-for-one correlate with billing rates throughout an entire company, I'd be hard-pressed to find a company that fully functions that way unless they exclusively do multiplier-based billing rates, where what they bill out is directly proportional to the salary that they pay their employees. All right, well, guys, that was this week's episode of Engineering Success. I hope you guys found it insightful. And if you agreed with something I said, let me know down below in the comments. And if you disagreed, let me know in the comments as well. I always appreciate a discourse about agreement or disagreement about anything I have to say. That's kind of why I do the podcast, not because I think I'm right, but because I think that I can offer a great starting point for a conversation that people can get value out of. So anyways, I appreciate your participation in that. If you like the episode, share it with somebody you like or don't like. If you don't like the podcast, maybe share it with somebody you don't like, just to annoy them. And then make sure to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to the podcast. It's free to you and tells the algorithms that people like to listen to me. All right. Well, I've been Daniel. I'll catch you in the next episode. Peace. I'm miscommunicating. I just made a pilot, then they threw me on the stations. Now I'm not complaining. My thoughts get complicated, I cannot explain in layman's. Never losing focus because I ain't chasing payments. Still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries, thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify, they put me on the station.